Good evening all, and we're going back on the trams again. Popular request. A lot of the viewers enjoyed it, that last one I did on the New Year's Day, so we're doing another one. This time we're doing from Haymarket to Edinburgh Airport and back, and we'll show you around the airport when we get up. While we're on the journey, I'll be telling you all about the past history, timeline and the modern day history of the trams. So we're just waiting on the tram coming from the West End now, and we'll catch it here at the Haymarket station, which I'm at the present moment in time. So I'll let you see this Haymarket station right now. Tram's going down the other way. That tram's heading down towards the West End, making its way to Princes Street, and then on to St Andrew's Square, etc, etc, and then York Place. That's it behind me now. Now, as I say, we're heading for the end stop, the airport, on this line here. That's where we're heading. I'm going to show you that route up to the Edinburgh Airport. Edinburgh Airport tram stop is adjacent to the arrivals and departures terminal. A covered walkway connects the airport building to the tram plaza. Within the tram plaza, customers can buy tickets, get onward travel information and relax in our tram information lounge. All our ticketing services assistants are ambassadors of the Visit Scotland I Know programme. The journey from Edinburgh Airport to city centre takes less than 35 minutes. So it's not that long, 35 minutes when you think about it. Here's our tram coming now. As I say, we're starting off at the Haymarket. Boarding now. That's it coming in now. And we go.
Haymarket. Change here for onward rail connections.
So we're on the tram now, folks, and we're heading up to the Edinburgh Airport.
This tram is Edinburgh Airport.
That's where we're heading, Edinburgh Airport. Now, as you can see, it is quite a lengthy tram that we're on. And of course, I'm filming in the evening just for a change, and show you a bit of the life in a tram in the evening. Take a seat. Trams are one of the easiest ways to get to and from the airport, with fast and frequent services to the city centre. Trams depart every 7 minutes, 0700 to 1900 hours, and every 15 minutes out with these hours, with an end-to-end journey of just 30 minutes. And we're coming to the next stop, folks, which is Murrayfield. That's the next stop. Trams in Edinburgh. There's a little bit about the trams here of late history. Trams operated in Edinburgh from 1871 to 1956 and resumed in 2014. The first systems were horse-drawn while cable hauling appeared in the city in 1888. Electric trams first run on systems in neighbouring Musselburgh 1904 and Leith 1905, meeting the Edinburgh cable trams at Joppa and Pilrig respectively. Electrification meant cable trams last ran in 1923, with through running now possible to Leith and as far east as Port Seton. The various systems operated by different private and municipal entities over the years. The Edinburgh and Leith system had been merged under Edinburgh Corporation by 1920, but it wasn't until 1928, after the partial closure of Musselburgh line, that all trams operating at Edinburgh were in the sole control of the corporation. The last electric trams ran in 1956, but electric trams returned in 2014 from the horse cable. First electric era were built in Strubhill Works. Two trams have been preserved, a horse tram and an electric tram built by Strubhill in 1885 and 1948 respectively. A 1903 Dick Kerr cable tram has also been purchased for preservation. Remnants of the cable tram system can be seen in Waterloo Place and Henderson Road, and off the Musselburgh line at Morrison's Haven. So again, it's got quite a timeline, trams. Now that's us moving off again. Next stop is Saughton. Now a little bit about the timeline again, here we go. 6th November 1871, first horse tram service. That was the Edinburgh Street Tramways. January 1988, first cable tram service, Edinburgh Northern Tramways. 20th of June 1922, cable electric boundary at Pilrig eliminated. Don't know why. 16th November 1956, last electric tram. 31st May 2014, first new electric tram service begins. So that's a little bit of the timeline there as the stop starts of the continuing, beginning and ending, etc, etc. Horse trams. The first horse trams were introduced by the Edinburgh Street Tramways on 6th November 1871. After 3 years, the company had 32 horse-drawn tram cars in use. There were around 100 by 1894, cable-drawn. Use of the horse trams was hindered in many areas by the steep gradients of the city, with some lines requiring teams of 5 horses to negotiate the terrain, and other routes were simply impossible to serve. The solution was found in the cable tram system, already in use in San Francisco, powered by a network of steam-fired power stations. Cables laid in conduits in the ground, running at constant speed, could be gripped and released as needed by trams in order to stop and start or otherwise adjust their speed. Edinburgh Northern Tramways began the first cable tram service in January 1888. So a little bit about the timeline there, folks. Electric. Electrification of the cable trams began partly in mitigation of the effects of the unpopular merger of the Edinburgh and Leith boroughs in 1920. Another factor was the susceptibility of the whole system to gridlock in the event of a single break in the cable. The corporation's last electric tram ran on 16th November 1956. That was the last. As you can see, we're turning along, folks. I'll let you take a look down here. That's the tram there, down in the aisle, centre aisle. They're making good way, heading for Edinburgh Airport. Next stop is Bankhead. Now, route networks. Edinburgh Street Tramways, 1871 to 1904. The Edinburgh Street Tramways Company was originally authorised by 1871 Act of Parliament to construct tramways in Edinburgh, Leith and Portobello. Their first horse tram service began on 6 November 1871. It ran from Haymarket via Princes Street and Leith Walk to Bernard Street, Leith, replacing a horse-drawn carriage service. So that was the Edinburgh Street Tramways in 1871 to 1904. And then the Edinburgh Northern Tramways, 1888 to 1897. Edinburgh Northern Tramways began the first cable-hauled tram service in January 1888. Expansion in the 1930s added routes Gorgate to Stenhouse, Braids to Fairmile Head and North Gaya to Maybury at the time of closure. The total tram route was 47 miles long. The corporation's last electric tram ran on 16th November 1956. Edinburgh Trams 2014 present. After 6 years in which the controversial scheme suffered from long delays and overspending, the new Edinburgh tram system finally began operating on 31st May 2014. Albeit on a single route from York Place to the city centre, west along Princes Street to the airport. So that was the 2014 at this present moment in time. We'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. And our next stop, folks, is Edinburgh Park Central. Edinburgh Street Tramways number 23 has been preserved. Owned by the Edinburgh Horse Tram Trust, it's housed in the Scottish Vintage Bus Museum at Withalmond in Fife. Built in 1885-1886 by the company in Shrubhill Depot. It's an open-top double-decker which would have been drawn by a pair of horses. It cost £140, seated 36, 14 by 14 longitudinal seats, and featured decency boards to hide ladies' ankles when sitting on the top deck. It was fitted out to a high quality with brass fittings, gold leaf and 14 blue etched windows, each with a different design. Having been transferred to the Edinburgh and District Tramways in 1896 by 1900. It was withdrawn and ended up being used as a workman's bothy building, a house in Newtown St Boswells in the Scottish borders, and then as a garden, summer house, shed for the house. Local accounts also suggest it was a meeting place of the Wee Free congregation. It remained there for the next 100 years. Its condition remained good thanks to several layers of paint, a ventilated brick plinth and a corrugated iron roof. It was rediscovered after the owners investigated its origins. The Edinburgh Horse Tram Trust was established to restore it. And after being moved to one of Lothian Bus's premises, restoration began in 2007. And after being moved to the museum in May 2011 for finishing work and painting into the royal blue livery, the restoration required substitution wheel sets and brake gear from an ex-Douglas IOM. horse tram to be used. The original wheels having been cast by a local firm, Miller's Foundry on London Road. Recreation of the original fleet name was made possible, survived underneath later layers of paint. Since it has the same gauge as the new tram system, it was speculated the completed vehicle could once again run in its original home. So that's a little bit about the history there of the trams there, and where you could maybe see some of the artefacts there of the trams. We've only got one stop, then we're into the airport. We're at Goggerburn now. Now that's the chart there, as you can see. Goggerburn is down to my left. And only got one more stop before we come into the airport. And that's Ingliston Park Ride. And then after that we're at the airport. Ingliston Park is the next stop, folks. Ingliston Park. And then after that, our destination, the airport, is the next stop. We're at the airport. Stop. Airport now. Just getting off the tram. I'll show you around the airport. Edinburgh Airport. We've arrived. So it makes a change. You usually see me filming during the day, but I thought I'd do something different and do a bit of filming at night time. So here we go. So we're leaving the tram now and we're going to take you into the airport. It's not too bad. The weather's fairly mild actually. It's not too bad at all. That tram that I was on, that'll head back down to the Haymarket. All these stops that we stopped at, making its way right down to York Place again. They go but run back and forward. That's how they work, back and forward. Two happy gents there, members of the staff.
Always happy.
And they're going to give you a wave. There we are. Thanks, gents. Doing a great job.
Name's Richard.
Richard and
I'm Rob.
Rob.
Rob,
Richard
yeah.
and Rob. First staff acquaintances in arriving at Edinburgh Airport. Very cheerful. A good welcome. See you later.
Cheers.
Bye now.
Bye now.
Aye, hustle and bustle. Well, plenty of light here anyway. It's a big place. There's a multi-storey car park there behind me. Look at the size of that. Yeah, that's some size. Plenty of room. Not as big as some of these larger airports you see out in Europe and America, but it's substantial for Edinburgh. Buses running as well. So we're going to try and can see a bit inside this airport. I'll try and take you inside it. So the COVID slowed this services down a bit. I think they're gradually getting back to normality again, you know. As you can see, the people there ready to get buses into Edinburgh. They just come off the planes, so they're taking transport back to Edinburgh now. Might be spending a holiday with family or friends, or even tourists just come to Edinburgh to see the sights, make a bit of history, make a bit of memory. Now, we'll go in here. This is the check-in zone apparently. So if you were travelling, you would come in here to check in. Yeah? Check-in zone. Sit there above me. So, there we go. It's a big place, as I say. Departures check-in zone A, B and C. It's a bit quieter in the evening, I suppose, but this place will be very busy in times of holiday makers going away on trips and holidays, etc. And the flight's getting back to a reasonable service. Well, they have suffered like everybody else because of the COVID. You can see there's plenty of shops in here, plenty of services for them. There's some shops in here. We'll take a walk up here and see some of these shops that service the people. I've seen him somewhere before. I think it's a late uncle of mine. So there we are. Costa Coffee up here, shops, domestic arrivals. And all the rest of it. Meet and greet waiting area.
Nice to see you. When I seen him come in, I was like...
That's down to my right. Welcome to Edinburgh City Centre in 30 minutes. There we are. There's the plaque there for it. And the routes that we've travelled down below. Can you see it? Alright. That's travelling. Now we travelled from Haymarket there. See? That's where we started off. There. Haymarket, and then we made our way up to Westercoats and then Murrayfield and then Western Corner, then Edinburgh Zoo, then Drumbury South, and then Maybury, and then finally making our way to Edinburgh Airport, which we're in now. Okay, so that's the route we took, and we'll be going back on the same route down the way, just the opposites. Now, as you can see, some of the domestic arrivals. There. Domestic arrivals there. International arrivals there. Big Starbucks here. All the goodies for the customers. You wouldn't starve here anyway, there's plenty there to eat. Good evening. Good evening, folks. How's things?
Good, thanks.
Great. When's your busiest time, would you say?
Halfway.
And
Morning to midday.
Morning to midday. Are you starting to pick up again, get back to normal after all the chaos with the COVID?
Yeah, it's getting.
Thank goodness for that. Your YouTube starts.
Yay! what's your YouTube channel?
Munro's Journeys. Well, all the best. I'm going to go through the other side of the airport now.
No worries.
I just want to make sure I've got some a nice film of you all.
Safe journey.
Okay. There we are.
Bye.
Stay busy.
We tried. Yeah.
And TCSS.
GCSS.
TCSS. Anybody knows what that is?
No.
Take care. Stay safe.
Oh. Thank you. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye just now.
Have a good night.
Hope you enjoy videos.
We will. We'll watch them.
Thank you. So that was some nice people, the staff there at Starbucks. Had a little chat there too. Starbucks coffee. I'll see if I can get upstairs and let you see upstairs now. Well, going up the escalator. Been told there's a few bars and restaurants and cafes up here, so I'll show you around up here. I may as well. We're here anyway. Very clean, the airport. Makes a difference when you see a clean place. And there's a few of the restaurants listed up there. Don't know if you can see it. Too much light. Good evening.
Good evening.
Are you waiting to depart?
Yep.
Aye. Have you enjoyed your trip to Edinburgh?
Oh, we're travelling from Orkney down to see relatives in Surrey.
Oh, you're going down south?
Yeah.
Oh well. I wish you well. I hope bon voyage, as they say.
Enjoy your trip.
Yes, thank you very much. If you want to see yourselves,
No, thank you, Adam. He doesn't want to be on it.
all right.
Hello.
It's on Munro's Journeys. Doing a documentary from a tram journey from Haymarket railway station to the Edinburgh Airport.
Oh.
And I did the one on New Year's Day. You'll see that one if you log into Munro's Journeys. Will you remember Munro's Journeys?
I can remember one.
MUNRO''S Journeys with an S. Okay.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much for your cooperation. Thank you very much.
question.
Yes.
What does the badge on your hat?
That's my clan, Munro.
Oh,
My name is Munro. I'm a life member of the Clan Munro Association, and my channel is called Munro's Journeys.
Yeah.
And my name is Robert Munro.
Oh, nice to meet you, Robert.
So all my ancestors fought at Flodden and the Battle of Culloden and all them bits. You know, away in the 16th century.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
All the best.
And you.
I hope the weather's clement for you down there.
Me too.
Yeah. I'm just going to have a look at some of these shops up here. I'm going back down. What are you going to be when you leave the school? Are you going to be a pilot?
No, I don't know what I'm going to be.
A scientist maybe?
No, I'm not like that.
You haven't arrived there yet.
Yeah, I don't know yet.
Okay. Now this is Weatherspoon's Bar and Restaurant, but it's closed. So there we are, folks. A little look round. And that's the luggage place there, luggage. So heading back down there to grade level, and we're going to meet the tram to take us back. Let's look at the airport. And that was Edinburgh Airport, folks. People hurrying up.
So much more pass.
This is the tram I'm going to take us back down to where we came from at Haymarket. Boarding now. And here we are. Next stop is Ingliston Park and Ride, and we're on the tram heading back down from the airport to Haymarket. Now, Edinburgh trams, a little bit of modern time history here. Edinburgh Trams is a tramway in Edinburgh, Scotland, operated by Edinburgh Trams Limited. As of 2017, it is a 14 kilometre, 8.7 mile line between York Place in the new town and Edinburgh Airport with 16 stops. Construction began in June 2008, and after encountering delays, it opened on 31st May 2014. The scheme had an initial estimated cost of 375 million in 2003. But by May 2008, when contracts were signed, the cost had risen to 521 million. The final cost after delays was 776 million pounds. After running for 2 years, the scheme had achieved pre-tax profitability, excluding maintenance and infrastructure costs, and exceeded the original ridership targets. It has run at an operating loss since 2018. e.g. example 9.4 million in 2018. On 14th of March 2019, Edinburgh Council voted to approve the extension of the existing line from York Place to New Haven. The extended line is due to be operational by early 2023.
Welcome to Edinburgh Trams. This tram is for Edinburgh City Centre and York Place.
Edinburgh City Centre and York Place, folks.
Trying to get some passes, please.
Now, a little bit about the background. Edinburgh and Leith were originally served by horse-drawn coaches, and then from 1871, various companies and corporations ran trams that were horse-drawn, then cable-driven and finally electric, until 16th November 1956. After that date, public transport consisted of buses and limited network of commuter rail lines. Towards the end of the 20th century, there was revived interest in trams in the United Kingdom, and networks were reintroduced in Birmingham, Croydon, Manchester, Nottingham and Sheffield. Proposals and agreements. In 2001, proposal envisaged 3 routes lines, 1, 2 and 3. The first was a circular route around the northern suburbs, and the others were radial routes to Newbridge in the west and New Craighall in the south. All lines would have passed through the city centre in May 2004. A 15-year operating contract was awarded to Transdev to operate and maintain the tram network. This contract was cancelled in 2009. 2 bills to reintroduce a tram network were passed by the Scottish Parliament in March 2006. Lines 1 and 2 received parliamentary permission, but funding the entire network was deemed impossible. Line 3, to be paid for by a proposed Edinburgh congestion charge, was scrapped when the charge was heavily defeated in a referendum, and construction of the remaining 2 lines was split into 4 phases. So a little bit about the proposals and agreements there, folks. The future of the scheme came under threat in 2007 when the Scottish National Party published its manifesto for the Scottish parliamentary election. The party made clear its intention to cancel the scheme, along with the Edinburgh Airport rail link, to save £1.1 billion. Following a lost vote in the Scottish Parliament, the SNP-led minority Scottish Government agreed to continue the line from the airport to Leith on condition that no more public money would be supplied. A report by Audit Scotland, commissioned by the Scottish Government, confirmed that the cost projections were sound. The cost of the scheme in 2003 was estimated at £498 million. £375 million in funding from the Scottish Government and £45 million from Edinburgh Council. On 25th October 2007, the Council approved the final business case. Approval was given on the 22nd of December 2007 for TIE, that's TIE, to sign contracts with CAF to supply vehicles and BBS, a consortium of Bilfinger Berger and Simons. to design and construct the network. Contract negotiations finished in April 2008 and construction started in June 2008. By this stage, the cost of the project was estimated at 521 million. Funding problems and political disputes led to the scaling back of the original plans in April 2009. The Council cancelled Phase 1B, citing revenue shortfall created by the economic slowdown. To save an estimated 75 million, the Granton extension was also cancelled. Construction 2007 to 2012. Until August 2011, the project was overseen by Transport Initiatives Edinburgh, TIE, that's what it means. Responsible for project managing construction of the tramway. After the draft business case was accepted by the Scottish Government in March 2007, initial construction work commenced in July 2007. With the diversion of underground utilities in preparation for track laying in Leith. These works followed a plan by System Design Services SDS, a joint design team led by Parsons Brinckerhoff and Halcrow Group. In May 2008, final contracts to build the tram system were awarded to BSC, a consortium of Belfinger Berger Siemens and Spanish tram builders Construcciones y Auxiliar de Ferrocarriles CAF. The tramway uses a mix of street running and segregated off-road track with controversial tram stop platforms. Stops are fitted with shelters, tickets, machines, lighting and CCTV. The network is operated from a depot in Gogger, close to the A8 roundabout, immediately west of Edinburgh Gateway tram stop. The route of the line required the construction of bridges to cross railway lines at Edinburgh Park and Stenhouse, and a tunnel under the A8 near the Gogger roundabout. A bridge at Ballgreen was widened. Works to build a tram interchange at the Haymarket station involved the demolition of a Category CS listed building, the former Caledonian Alehouse on Haymarket Terrace. Some on-street track was laid in a special foundation with cobbled road surfacing designed to be sympathetic with the style of Edinburgh streets, but was removed in many places due to objections from cyclists. Trams are powered by overhead cables attached to purpose-built poles or mounted on the sides of buildings. 9 electrical substations were planned for the line to New Haven, both underground and above ground, but only 5 were built after the line was truncated at York Place. Completion
Edinburgh Park Station.
2013
Change here for onward
to 2014.
connections.
From late 2012, work continued mostly on schedule. More than 150 metres, 160 yards of flawed concrete track bed had to be replaced between Shanwick Place and Haymarket in June 2013. Overhead electric wires were installed on the city centre portion of the route. This was considered the last major step in the construction process. Works were 2 months ahead of schedule by September 2013 when Edinburgh Council announced the tramway would open by May 2014. All tram and road works were completed by 19th October, with testing of the trams between the depot and Edinburgh Park commencing on 8th October 2013. This was followed by the energising of tram wires from Bankhead tram stop to York Place on 19th November. marking the first time that the route was completely energised. The tramway opened to passengers on the 31st of May 2014. So that's a little bit of the modern day history of the tram, Edinburgh trams.